Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION, the SVU After Show podcast. I'm so excited. I'm Yael Tygiel. I'm joined by Taylor Gates over here.
Hello. On this Tuesday afternoon.
Yes, very, very special episode. If you missed it this last week, we discussed one of my favorite episodes from season 5, episode 17, Mean. And today we have a very special guest joining us. We have the one, the only Lindsay Hollister, who played Agnes Linsky. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Honestly, I'm really excited to do this.
How often, I'm going to start with a very simple one. How often do you get recognized for this episode specifically?
That's a really good question. I would say of my entire career, this is, besides Get Smart, which is a movie that I did, it's definitely Law and Order because it just lives on in reruns. Which is great for an actor. It's like a dream because actors doing work now, like television now, we don't do reruns now. So to get on a show like this, that's so heavily like re-aired and I think like creates more fans that are like finding it and discovering it later on. Like that tells you something about the show for sure. So yeah, definitely this would be second to like Get Smart. Yeah.
That's so funny. I was saying on our show on Sunday how much I loved you on Boston Public. That was such an amazing, like pivotal moment for me as a viewer. And then to see you also on SVU really like was very exciting. But I realized not a lot of people remember Boston Public.
Well, funny that you bring that up because guess what? They never released Boston Public like on DVD or you can't get it. And that's, an issue. Like like if I wanted to go back and look at my episodes now, there's just nowhere. And I don't know why. You just can't get it. So like David E. Kelley just didn't ever release it. So yes, that's actually the first show I was ever on that launched my little career, my humble career.
You've been working for 20 years.
Yeah, well, but we are conditioned in Hollywood that it's never enough. You should never be happy because you don't have enough. I don't know big stars, celebrities like Scarlett Johansson. Like, is it enough that she's Black Widow? I don't know. So it's like you're so funny. I was just talking about this. Like you're only as good as your last job. And, it's like a way to, I think it's a like herd mentality. It's a way to keep us like all like sheep, like, or way to keep us calm or something. So we don't revolt. But yeah, so I look back, like it is something that we are sitting here talking about a show that I did almost 20 years ago, like not that long, but, and that it still, touches and resonates, with people, especially like an episode like Mean. It really does. Like, it's still really relevant.
Yeah. We were talking about how this episode kind of starts to bring up the idea of systemic fat phobia and that then it chooses not to address it at all, which is weird because like now would be such a good time to have that topic come up and have that conversation. So if, at the end of the episode, Agnes ends up going to jail, we're in season 22 now, where would she be? What would she be doing?
She's probably out by now, right? She's out of jail. Like, come on, let's go part 2.
They should definitely bring me back. I cannot believe, like, can we pitch this to them?
Yes.
That's what we're currently doing.
That's amazing. And because, what's funny is because I was just talking about Nip Tuck, not to plug another show that I was on, but I only did one episode of that as well because not spoiler alert, kill myself, my character. And so I really do in my career have these like amazing shows, and I'm like on it once, you know, like I'm like, can I just have been on a little bit of an arc, you know? Like most actors look at series regular roles and they get so excited. And if I get an audition that just says like 2 episodes, I'm like, yay, let's do this. 2 episodes. Like,
well, SVU is known for repeat offenders, so I'm just saying, like, there's no reason, you know, whether it's Agnes or a different character, everyone's a repeat offender eventually. So
I don't, you know, I mean, but also it was unusual that they flew me out from Los Angeles though. Like I was not a New York actor. Yeah, and I also, but I'm sorry if I'm skipping ahead in the interview. This was one of only 2 times in my entire career that I was given a straight offer.
Really?
Yes, wow. I did not for the show. And that's, I mean, for any actor, like that's incredible. Like, because you, I mean, unless you're like a solidified name, like Scarlett Johansson, we'll just keep using her as an example. You audition, like you know, you're at least going on tape for the producers. Like you're not just getting straight out. So the fact that they offered this in a role of this, like, you know, like how substantial it was, like, it, you know, like it was, yeah. So they, so the fact, yeah, they flew, I think they flew the 3 of us out, myself, Kelly, and I think Adrian, I don't know, I'm so bad with names.
Ariel.
Ariel, thank you. I knew it wasn't Adrian. So Ariel, I think they brought us out from LA, but then the youngest one, she was, I think, local. But yeah, you know, I don't know if it's like they wanted just that Hollywood look for the girl, you know, like the blondes or something. I don't know. So, but I do know it was unusual that we all were coming out from LA, like, and not.
Yeah, I definitely thought you were New York based because I know that they prefer to work with locals. Can you tell us about how did this happen? Because that is odd that you don't audition.
It's such, like, you get a call to like that, like you know, like, yeah, I mean, you get a call, like I said, if it was like any show, it was like, you know, Cops. I'm trying to think of like a show I would be like that you don't have to audition for. So no, you know, I don't know exactly what they saw me on, but they saw me on something. And I think at that point in my career, I had done Boston Public. I think I had done Nip Tuck, because what you guys would know. What year did this air?
2004.
So I did in 2003. Because I remember it was winter, because there was a huge snowstorm in New York. And I remember landing, and I'm from Ohio, so it's not like I haven't seen snow. I'm not like one of those people that's like, you know, but I remember, well, I flew first class. You better believe it.
Ooh.
Absolutely, yeah. This is back when actors were treated pretty well. Now they're taking it out of like all of the contracts and stuff like that. But first class, landed, you know, JFK, they get, you know, you're in a car, or maybe probably LaGuardia, and you're in a town car. And I mean, I can't remember, my mother would remember the name of the hotel, because this was the first show, or first game, because my mom was in Ohio. And she came out for it. And I'll tell you in a minute why that was so important, actually. But we were on Central Park West, like the hotel, like it was incredible. Like it was first class accommodations. But I remember like getting to the hotel, and then like, you know, it's late, you know, because you fly from LA and it's late by the time you get there. And I was like hungry, and they're like, there's a pizza place across the street, you know, because it's New York and everything's closed. And I like, you know, went across, and as I was like coming back of my New York pizza, it was like the snow was starting to fall, and I was like, this is like heaven. I'm in heaven. I'm doing this, you know, one of the biggest shows on television right now. But yeah, and then like, it was all yellow piss snow. Terrible. Gross. It was gross, and everyone's sloshing around in it, and like all the, you know, yeah, it went from like idyllic to ew, really. Yeah. So, you're in like a band, we got bangers. We were shooting on location. I know they have studios there, but we were shooting on location the entire time. So you're like trudging up the trailer with like snow encrusted shoes, and snow is great to look at from inside. Anyway.
Let's talk about the.
Yeah, to answer your question, I don't know what they saw me on, but it was something amazing.
It could have been Days. I mean, you were on Days of Our Lives before as well.
Well, Days of Our Lives stole the plot of Boston Public, so that's how they found me. It's true. Yeah, I actually went and did Days of Our Lives last year, or right before the pandemic. Yeah. I went back to reprise my character, so yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, I think it was probably Boston Public, maybe that one. I know a lot of people were watching Boston Public because of David D. Kelly, so it was pretty cool.
I mean, also I thought it was a great show.
I loved it. People loved it. Oh yeah, you go back and you think I was watching it with my roommate before I got the audition. I remember when I got the audition, I was like, well, no, I can't be on a show that big. Like, I'm a nobody, I wasn't even union when I got that show.
Wow.
I know. They Taft-Hartley'd me, which is the, people who don't know, but yeah, you get automatically into the union. So that was amazing.
They need to put it streaming somewhere so I can watch it.
Oh, it was so, and then I died tragically on that show too. It's a theme.
Well, in SVU, you didn't die. You went to jail.
Probably.
I went to jail. Yeah, we need to pitch this. I need to go back.
Well, I think, we got to see one of these like amazing scenes where Agnes talks to Benson. What was it like working with Marishka, and what was the scene like where she's trying to relate to you and your struggles?
The classroom scene.
Yeah.
So, this is so great because I really do have a lot of amazing stories from this. And then you don't have it with every TV show you do. There's a lot of, times you just go, you shoot your stuff, no one talks to you at lunch, and you go home. It's like the first day of school, right? For guest starring. But I do have stories. So back to my mom, right? Shout out to Jan. Hi, Jan. You're watching this. So my mom decides to come and meet me in New York, because I've been on, acting for a few years at this point. So yeah, 3 years at this point. And, she was a teacher in Ohio and stuff like that. So she wasn't like she could just, every time I booked something, she wasn't going to just, drop her, with her life and fly out. Like, she'd come visit me, but it never coincided with a shoot. So mom comes out. Again, I have this beautiful hotel room. She would remember the name of it, but and I just remember they had like a welcome snack kit in there. It's just amazing. It's like, it's a pretty special time in your life, shooting television, especially back then, when, you're just treated really, really well. And you're in this, you're in New York and you're on location, you get per diem, that's where they pay you. So mom, anyway, so I'd asked if my mom could come to the set, and that was the first day of filming, I'm pretty sure, was that thing. So I gone in and done the wardrobe stuff and everything, but that was the first day of filming for myself. So mom was there, and they were so nice with mom. And I'll tell you again, I said why I was so glad mom was there. I'll tell you in a minute. So they let her sit. We're in an actual school. We were it was practical. It wasn't a sound stage. And so they put her outside, and I think they gave her little headphones so she could hear the audio. But yeah, so Marishka came in, and I think to be respectful of the scene, she wasn't blah, 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 chatting and stuff. So I remember sitting down, and it was just this is one of those characters where you're just, it's just written. It was just written so well, you know, like it really was. There's a lot of stuff that I've auditioned for, and obviously, like, you just never relate to the character. But this character, I mean, not just because I am still, but was, you know, very, very overweight in school, and I was bullied beyond belief. So obviously, I can relate to that. But actually, some of the hardest characters to play are the ones that are most like you. Like, it's a lot easier to dive into a character that's nothing like you than to, you know, really have to tap into the pain that defined you growing up. So I just remember, like, she was really respectful. I keep using that word because the stars of TV shows are not typically respectful of you. You have to be respectful of them. You know, like, they're always getting the first, you know, like people know that you turn around on a scene, obviously, like, you know, the camera's going to do like you know, they're usually always getting the first take. And I think she said, you know, let it go on her first. Cause that way, like, you know, you're fresh in your performance and stuff like that. And so that kind of stuff was unusual. And I was just, you know, but she went out in between scene, you know, because there's, you know, as the camera turns around and stuff like that. And I didn't know this because I was still inside. Because I think, like, a lot of times they'll ask you to stay for your own lighting. Because, like, I didn't, you know, we didn't have stand-ins for like that scene kind of thing. And a lot of times in my career, I didn't have stand-ins that were because no one was my size. So they would, like, you know, be like, okay, well, there's a lot of light bouncing off your surface. So can you stay for just a second? So, but she went out to my mother, like, she knew it was my mom. And of course my mom, you know, my mom was like, you know, and she sat down and she said, your daughter is pure gold. That's what she said to my mother.
Oh,
and I was like, and I found this out later. I mean, I didn't know at the time. My mother's like, you know, I'm an only child. I'm very special, of course. And I guess, like, my mother is just like, you know, thank you so much. You know, so just like even that first encounter with, like, a human being like that is amazing. I mean, especially, you know, her, like, you know, the daughter of this, you know what I'm saying? Like, fame does something to people typically, and stars don't act like that, you know, kind of thing. So, so we were off to a really, really good start, you know, with the whole thing. Of course, this was before I had to get a picture in my underwear, which we can talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so that was my first encounter. It was just, it was so important to her that scene, we got it right. It didn't matter, like, what she was saying, anything, like, it was all about me. And that was, like, so generous beyond belief that a star of a show like that is more concerned about, you know, the episode and the, you know, like, you know, that I shine, right? Like, that shows you her character just in that, you know, that she really wanted to nail this scene, because it's where you have to, obviously you have to see this character like a human, like the little, you know, that she's this, you know, like, what's happening, you know, her mindset. Like, I mean, if you sit there, I mean, I don't remember obviously all my lines, but to just say, like, that you're happy that someone's dead, like, you have to be in a pretty trusting, like, situation with the other actor, so that as this character, you can make it that you don't sound like a psycho, because the character needs to garner sympathy, right? Yeah, you don't want to hate this ugly fat girl for saying that this pretty girl is dead. So it's really important to Marishka that we, you know, that it was very, you know, spot on, that I was comfortable and felt supported to give that performance, because again, I had no audition. So this is the first time that they're, you know, the producers and the director are hearing me do it. No pressure, lots of pressure.
Well, it is such an amazing scene, and it is totally, you do feel for this character, and you do believe her, and you do understand why she is happy that someone is dead. Let's talk about the taking the photo on the phone.
Yes.
Tell
So
us about that.
back to not auditioning, and I say how great it is because auditioning sucks. Auditioning is horrible. It's first of all, auditioning is not acting. It's a completely different beast. And that's why there are actors that are so good at auditioning, but then they get on set and there's something that doesn't work. And that's why, I mean, you guys, how many times have you watched something and you're like, how did this person get, like, right?
Yes.
Most of it happens every day. So most of the time it's because of that. And so for me, you give me a role and you put me on set and I am a director's actor. I will do it any different way that you want. Like I will dive in. I'm fearless. Like I'm whatever, but I hate auditioning. I just really do. And I am lucky that I've even booked work because I will freak out. Like there's just something about the whole thing. It's very unnatural. Typically, like you're in this tiny little room and you're only like a few yards away and it's like, and I'll just get in my head and I have, lost roles just because I simply am not the best auditioner out there. So I'm like all about straight offers, but then also you don't have time to kind of discuss or work out some things so I did not have the script, obviously. I said, even if I had auditioned, I probably wouldn't have gotten the script.
Right.
So I did not know about this scene where there's this picture on the phone, right? My brother beats this kid up for having sent around the picture of me in my underwear, right?
Yep.
So I think it was like right in the first day, as you're doing your wardrobe, or whatever, that they're like, oh, well, we have to, shoot this thing in your underwear. And I was like, what? Like now I had obviously just done Boston Public, which again, I know if you didn't get to watch it back then, but I played a female wrestler who had to wear a singlet, but which was horrible, by the way. Women will not wrestle because they will not put on a singlet. Like, not flattering. Let's just put it that way. So but in Boston Public, there was a shower scene. I remember getting a phone call from the director, because that was like the third episode I was doing. So I'd already been like on the show. And they were like, the director wants to talk to you. And I was like, why? Okay. It's a different director, usually every show. So whatever. I didn't know who the person was. And they're like, so let's talk about the shower scene. And I remember going, what shower scene? But so thank God for Hollywood. And they come in and spray your whole body with makeup to help out, with shower scenes. But we're taking a picture of you in your underwear. So I guess all I can say now, the joke is, thank God it was a flip phone that I was taken on, because but I don't know that at this point. But I do remember there was a call to my agents, because you get into like nudity or anything with your body like that, and that stuff usually should be talked about before you get on. Yeah. So I was a little surprised that it was just coming up then. Like, why are we talking about this now? So I think that it was just like, well, let's make sure, because honestly, they will. I'm not trying to, like sound in any way like, we're all victims in Hollywood, because we're not. But they will if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Like production is not. They're there to get what the show needs. Like. If like you standing there showing side boob in front of 50 people works for them, they're not going to, think of you, kind of thing, so you do have to protect yourself. And I've had several, times in my career that I've had to, protect myself especially that kind of thing. So, so I think there were like calls made back and forth to like the reps and, you know, production just to be like, what is this picture? You know, like what, you know, do I have final say on what underwear I'm wearing? You know, like I think there were like huge granny panties or something. So it was much more painful filming it than what it turned out in the show. Because I think it goes by really fast and it's far away and stuff like that. But yeah, I think they like, you know, they agreed to like close the set as much as they, you know, could, you know, for this whole thing. So like, yeah, you don't have a bunch of like IATSE team members standing around eating macaroni and cheese, and looking at a fat girl in her underwear, you know? So, but also this is me like back then. And I'm so like, I'm just a different, you know, it's you as you do this more and more and more, you just become like less like, you know, less like caring about what the older you get, you don't care, I think, more. It's like how my mother was always able to wear a bathing suit to the public pool, and I would be like covered up completely in my towel till I ran to the edge, and then I'd like slip in and like, you know, make sure no one could see me. And the older you get, you're like, I don't care.
Right.
Body, you know, kind of thing. Like, you don't like cellulite? Good luck. Everyone knows. You know, so
the photo itself was taken on a flip phone. Did somebody have to bring a flip phone to take the photo?
No, they did it on like the camera.
Okay.
And then they just transferred it to that. Yeah. So that's the thing I said is more painful, you know, filming that kind of thing. But, you know, it went by pretty quickly, but I didn't love it. You know, it's always like, wow, it's like sucks that but it could have been far worse. Definitely could have been worse. But again, I think like, you know, if there's any young actors out there that are listening, you know, and this thing happens, they have to know that you are going to stand up for yourself, and you're not going to be manipulated, you know, like be allowed to, you know, because of course they all were like, well, it's network television. There's not, you know, and I'm like, you still can do stuff, you know, and you're still, you know, we're still standing, you know, here like on a set with people that can see, you know, my ass isn't grainy now. Pretty clear. So that's that story. But I just remember being like, oh man, because you have to be really careful. You know, you have to be really careful that you aren't seen as a difficult person.
Right.
Right, Val Kilmer?
Yeah. The balance of being accommodating while standing up for yourself and not being difficult is such a challenge in this industry.
Very fine line. Yeah. Especially as a woman.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was gonna say, I was like, that definitely plays a role too.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, like probably made it sound worse than it was. I just remember being like surprised, like blindsided by, you know, this picture.
How old were you when this was shot, if you don't mind me asking?
You're the best. Look how you bring it right around to remember when I said about my mom. So I was 26 years old, right? Playing 16, 17, right? Yeah. I mean, I was a big baby face, and yeah, you know, they obviously looked young, and so that wasn't unusual. That's not unusual, you know, for Hollywood, like that you're, you know, everyone's a little older, you know, you're always like usually 18 to play younger kind of thing. But so the second day of filming, it was like the gymnasiums. Gym scene. You can say gym, Lindsay. It's the gym scene, and so we all of the girls now, you know, because I wasn't really filming with them, obviously, because we were friends, but we all had to be there for the gym scene. So we all get into the van, you know, from the hotel. We were all being picked up, and we're all with our like moms, except for Ariel. She did not have her mom. So. And who's I'm terrible with names. So Kelly, Ariel, and then what was the name of the actress who played the little blonde?
I don't know. The character was Paige.
Paige, yeah. I don't know the actor name.
Well, Paige is so they're in like the back. I remember they're in like their back rows behind. in this like, transport van, and my mom and I, and then like, of course, my mom's like, this is so cool. We're going to set again and blah, blah, blah. And whoever played Paige is like, oh my God, how old is everybody? And she's like, I'm 14. She was 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's unusual because they typically don't cast under 18 because then you have to adhere to all the labor laws,
Right.
like she has to go to school on set and all that, and be accompanied by an adult, which is why her mom was there. And then Kelly's like, I'm 18, but her mom had joined,
Right.
and so nice. Ariel, I'm 18 too. Oh my God. And I'm like, 14, 18, and I'm like, I have to lie. I just thought I have to lie. And so they're like, Lindsay, how old are you? Without missing a beat. I'm 21. I was like thinking in my head, a little bit older wouldn't be bad, but I cannot say I'm 26.
That's great. That's 12 years. Like, and you're playing like the same grade.
I know.
The
and
magic of Hollywood.
I know. And as I got to know the girls, at some point I'm like, do I tell them that I lied on the first day?
Nah.
And I was like, we were like in the van with we were in the van with somebody like producer. I want to say too, I didn't want them to know, obviously the people who did my deal knew how old I was, but I felt like the grandpa of the whole thing.
It's
I love that your mom didn't rat you out.
Yeah, it's really nice that your mom didn't rat you out.
Well, your mom was just going along with it.
I think she was trying to do the math in her mind to help me out, the year I was born. So wait, keep talking. I actually have to get somebody to bring my power cord. Power on this. So the whole point though was that it made sense that my mom was there.
Right.
Because we were all so young. Right? I definitely said I was young. I can't remember. I definitely lied about my age.
Your character was supposed to be 18 because they said early on in the episode that she doesn't need a parent's permission because she's already 18. Yes. And I definitely thought that you were 18, 19 at the time. So at no point did I question that you were under 20.
Well, I'm 43 now.
I don't believe that either.
No, I'm not trying to get compliments, but no no fillers, like nothing. It's just good genetics. But honestly, I really wish that I looked my age though, because it's like there's that perception of like what a mom looks like, and because I'm all mom roles now, and I'm going out for women in their 40s, and I'm like, am I not getting parts because I don't like? I even try to get like a mom haircut. You see this haircut? Of course, forgive me because it's pandemic time. So, but yeah, I've always looked younger than what I am, so, which was great back then. But actually, IMDb, if you want to hear a short story on getting screwed for your age, I went in for this movie that was called Mean Girls. Mm-hmm. For the role of Janice, and I had.
Oh, I would love that. That would be a good fit.
Marcy Learoff, who was the casting director, and when I walked, and I was like, of course, I love the script. I loved everything about this movie, and I'm hot in my career at this point, And when I walked into the casting director's office, I saw my IMDb page on her computer. And somebody, after Boston Public, a reporter in my hometown, had been so excited to put my age on the IMDb. So I was 26. This is all around the same time. I probably hot off of, shooting this, Law and Order and all this stuff going on. And yeah, I was what they consider to be like an industry name. Like people knew me and, had been watching my work. And Marcy so I had this amazing audition, and Marcy goes, quote unquote, that was amazing. I really want to send you to producers, but Lindsay Lohan is really 17. So what she was saying is, you're 26. Like if we were casting older people, but Lindsay Lohan was really 17. That's literally what she says to me. She's like, oh, I just don't know what to do. Let me think on it. And I never heard back again. And Rachel McAdams, by the way, and I are the same age, just to tell you that. So the perception that Marcy knew that I was 26, and here Rachel McAdams ended up, she was 26 years old when she did. And so was the actor who played their friend, the gay friend. He's 26 years old too. I was at that time. So I would have been everyone if, and I think obviously I'm not saying I would have gotten the role of Janice. I think what's her name did a great job, but
Lizzie Kaplan,
but like to be knocked out of it because of this age thing, and then people end up, like I said, I just think the whole thing sucks that like age, if you look like you can play it, like who cares, So
yeah,
I mean, girl, imagine the trajectory of my career if I had gotten Mean Girls,
Absolutely. I think what's wild is that you literally just told us about you playing with a 14-year-old and no one questioning it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in an episode named Mean. So back Mean Girls, yeah.
Yael and I talked about this on Sunday, how there's like some weird parallels. We're like, ooh, which one came first? So that's funny that you mentioned that because that was just something we compared it to like 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was like all around the same time. It had to, because, yeah. So yeah, I started my career playing high school and, did a lot of high school because of that baby face. So I'm gonna have to take you guys on a journey with me to get my my power cord. So because my mom, who's here, who lives with me, and my husband is not answering her phone. So sorry. Don't.
No, we love it.
We're taking a tour of the house.
Yeah, we got a little MTV Cribs going on. Like, this is perfect.
I wish. It's not anything exciting, that's for sure. Remember, I didn't get mean. I didn't get any Mean Girls. So
you're on SVU, which reruns, as you say, everywhere. Anne is on Hulu, and I watch random episodes all the time.
Same.
Yeah, so you can make that SVU money.
You know what? Yeah. It's been good. Not as good as like movies, obviously, like Get Smart, which has been a huge moneymaker. But yeah, it's definitely brought in amazing residuals. They go down as the showings go on, as the years go on. They diminish. but yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it's definitely, it's been one of those things. It's like I said, a lot of people know it and have, mentioned it and, remember that, because not just like the show itself is iconic. I mean, you guys know this, you devoted your time to it, but that episode really touched people, because it's not just about weight. It's just anybody and everybody who has been bullied in their lives, which is the more you talk to people, it's pretty much everybody has been bullied in one way or another. But that, it just really, really affected people. Like the whole context of I think they did a great job, like tapping into that subject, of just how unbelievably cruel kids are to each other, but especially girls. Like and you know what? And it's the same as for adult women. Don't you guys? I mean, we are our own worst enemy. I don't know what it is. Just women are horrible, but yeah. So I think like it's just like, it's still, sorry, the dog. but it's like I said earlier, it still resonates today. Like it's still it's still topical. I don't think it feels outdated when it airs. Like maybe some other episodes do. I don't know. You guys would know better than I do.
Yeah, the only outdated thing is like the texting with on the flip phone, which is always fun though, because it's like a little time capsule of like what technology was like back then. But you're right. I think the themes are really, really timeless. And as someone who's been watching a lot of Real Housewives over quarantine, you're so right that adult women are also very cruel to each other. And that's just unfortunately kind of how it is.
I was on, wait, what did you just mention? Real Housewives?
Real Housewives.
Oh, which one do you watch?
I've watched all of Beverly Hills in New York, and I'm doing Potomac and Salt Lake City right now.
Well, first I thought you meant what's the one that was on with Desperate
Housewives? Desperate Housewives.
Desperate Housewives, which I was on Housewives too. So I was like, let's talk about that. No, just kidding. But yeah, I mean, it's true. It's imagine. I mean, this is for another show, but just imagine how powerful women would be if we we cut that stuff out and actually started supporting each other. Like, but it's the best thing for men that keeps them probably alive and their body parts attached, that we don't bond together as much. But bullying, it's been a theme like in my career, and obviously back then, like between Boston Public and the Law and Order, bullying. And then I was on Days of Our Lives. We said like stole that Boston Public. It was like the same sort of thing. I literally on Boston Public, I was like the Blob, and then I was Gigantor on Days of Our Lives. Like it was the same. Like I had this like horrible name, like nickname, but it's just like people have brought this up, but it's honestly like something that I'm very passionate about. This idea that especially young people are killing themselves. They're still killing themselves over being bullied. And I'm just one of those people where I'm like, life is this is so cliche. I know it, but life is so unbelievably short. It goes by so fast. Like we were saying before, like I've been doing this for 22 years. Like it's gone by in a blink, like, where has this time gone, and I'm like, why are we destroyed over a number on the scale? That's just so strange to me, but it's seriously, and it has been for a really long time, still the last acceptable prejudice. It really is. Like I've said that probably for almost 20 years, and it's not changed. There's still, it's still completely acceptable to make fun of people for their weight, to have weight. Where you wouldn't do that for, people of color, anything like handicaps, disabilities or anything like that. We would, be horrified. You would be canceled. It would be cancel culture if you did anything like that, but you can still say you are a great, big, disgusting, fat person, like your weight. Like I've lost 150 pounds and I'm still called fat. I'm still made fun of for being fat. So, it's like still acceptable. And it really needs to come a time when it's not acceptable anymore, because I have always said as well that weight is the one thing that we all can be. Like if you hate Jewish people, and you're not Jewish, you're never going to be Jewish. You hate African American people, you're never going to be African American. But we can all be fat. We can all be overweight. It's like the one thing. So I think it's just like this, like, inherent fear or something that we have. But anyways, like I think back to the show, it was just like, really showing like an inside glimpse, I think, to this world of, these mean girls, but like I think a lot of parents and stuff too, like, don't realize like this is what their children, these are the activities that their children are engaged in, you know? But one thing that I really liked, years and years ago, Sarah Jessica Parker said that she did not allow the word fat in her home, which was really interesting, because I have always been curious, what first makes a child go, ooh, you're fat, you know, like, where does that come from? Like that you're like, that we're repulsed by fat, right? You know, so but I think like, especially like they said in the show, showing that glimpse of the hatred and the nastiness, that girl, you know, we have to be having a conversation with our girls, you know. And I don't have any kids, and I don't assume that it's easy at all. I know that it has to be the most difficult thing, but I would say, you know, are we having enough of talks, if you have a young girl, just about, you know, how they behave, and how they treat, you know, one another. You know, the grain of who you are is so much more important, you know, than, you know, the money that you have in the bank, you know, like what are you going to be remembered for, you know, kind of thing. Like, even in my survival job now, this is really interesting. Sorry, I know I've been babbling for like 10 minutes straight, but we were going to hire, I work in, you know, the food industry. I'm a restaurant manager, and I have to be able to survive. You can't, I was literally able to survive on acting for like 15 years, long time, on residuals, and, you know, got a great man, so he would work. And of course, when I wasn't working, I still have that man. I'm still with that man 17 years later. But you know, you're able to survive. But now the way they've redone our contracts, like I did Netflix, I did the Pee-wee's Big Holiday, Pee-wee Herman, and literally like made like $400 on the first residual, and I've never seen another dime, like, ever. And they could work us 10 hours before we go into overtime, and it's just terrible. Like, the contracts are like, you cannot make money as an actor like you used to, right? Where like the first network rerun, you would make half of what you made for the first one, you know, which you're making top of show, which is what I was working, you're making $6,000-$7,000 an episode, you know, half of that's pretty darn good just to get a re-air. But anyways, so I was babbling about, and now I've gone off on my tangent, but just the girl in the restaurant. So we went to hire this girl, and one of our other team members, you know, who's like, you know, probably like 22, was like, you know, she bullied me in high school. She almost ruined my life. Like, I wanted to kill myself because of this girl. Like, we are affected by people. Like, and the girl, we had to say to this girl we were hiring, like, hey, you know, sorry, we have another team member, you know, she doesn't remember any of it. Like, and I don't know how much of it, you know, like I believe people who are bullied, you know, you don't make that stuff up. But yeah, it's like the stuff that doesn't resonate with, you know, people, the stuff that we say, it's like how that can land to someone else. You know, we all need to think about it. It should spark conversations, you know. It should be a platform to start the discussion of, why are we so awful to each other, you know? Yeah, I mean, we just came out of a 4-year abusive relationship with a president that was just horrible, and would just say, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, gloves are off. It almost just feels like, you know, there's like, what matters anymore, you know? I don't know. So that's a whole, again, tangent, but I think it ties for me, you know, to the show of like why it really you know, really people remember mean, you know.
Absolutely. I think you're totally right. And one of the great things about SVU is that they would constantly, and still do, bring up major issues, major talking points. We talked about how this episode, the Agnes storyline, could have led to a much more in-depth conversation, again, about systemic fat phobia and bullying and things like that. But it took a very odd turn where Agnes had nothing to do with the murder. And and it was about the interactions between young women amongst themselves. And I think that is also a very interesting topic. I think Agnes should be returning in season 22. She's gotten out of jail. She's now been learning about body positivity. She is a front runner in that conversation and has to come and thank Olivia for being there for her. And then they have to help someone else. I got it. I got the whole episode planned out.
I want it so bad.
Can we start like a petition or something? Do we know who to write to?
We do. We do.
Let's do it. Because I've talked about obviously the show with a lot, but you're the first person to bring up that fat phobia part of it. Like it's just not something that, people talk about or think about unless you deal with it,
Yeah.
unless you've lived with, just that, like, it's just incredible the way weight, just it's a hatred that burns deep inside people for fat people.
Absolutely. And we talked about how in the episode, the principal says that Agnes is socially delayed. And then we meet her and at no point is she delayed in any way, shape or form. And it is very much his personal bias against her, which is so fascinating and should have been addressed more in the episode, but can be when Agnes returns.
I love that. Yeah, and that last scene, I was just really happy that that's made it in, because that would be what actually was. I don't know how much time we have.
We got some time,
but that's a juicy one, actually.
Go on.
This one will make you go, okay, she babbled a lot about bullying and body positivity, but okay, something interesting came up. So, so back to, so many amazing stories. So we go to this gym scene, like I was telling you, and I'll never forget Marishka, walks in, sees the girl, because usually guest stars, we all take care of each other, kind of thing. Like you're talking to you don't talk to the stars. She beelined across the gym and was like, what's the gossip? And I mean, amazing. We're like, and like at the time she was dating Matthew Perry and was not, it was not like public, but we were like, knew it. I was like, oh, this is so good. And I was like, well, if I leak this, she'll know where it came from. But yeah, she was dating. Did you guys know that? She dated?
No.
I don't think I did. And that's rare because Yael and I know a lot, I feel like.
There you go. Cool. I'm glad
spicy.
So yeah, she was dating him and was just like a smitten kitten and was just, talking about that. But I did not shoot with, obviously, the other one I played.
Chris Maloney.
I did not shoot with Chris until the last scene of. It's so funny because now that I think about it, it's almost like my filming went in order of the episode, which usually doesn't happen.
Right.
You're usually shooting like the last thing, at the beginning of your whatever day, 7-8 days that you're filming episodic television. So it almost did go in order, but so she could not have been more kind, and I think really was excited to have these girls on set, and we were gossiping and all up and coming. Kelly Kelly has gone on to do amazing stuff. Same with Ariel. Brooke, who we don't know, is that her name? Did I just come up with Brooke, or was that her stage name?
Maybe Brooke is her real name.
Maybe.
Terrible.
Maybe you got it right.
She went on to do something, right?
And now, actually, that I said something earlier that I thought she was a local hire. I don't think she was. I think now that I think of it, they flew her out from California too. We were all flown. So maybe it was just that fresh, sun-kissed California girls that they wanted for that. Not for me. I mean, they wanted me. I'm surprised they didn't hire a New York actress for the sad sack. And you obviously know too, fat names. Like Agnes is such a name.
Yes.
The year was 1942. I'm senior in high school. What? You have to have the fat names. I mean, look down my IMDb. It's all been fat name. But anyways, Margie. That's a fat name. Played the Margie. So anyways, she could not have been nicer, but we get to the last day of filming, and that scene, and it's going to be right before the dun, you know, I mean, that's important, right? And I've never said that I'm the most talented person on the planet. And a lot of actors have ego. I think you have to have ego as like a little bit like just to keep yourself going, you know, like a little self-preservation, because the industry will make you hate yourself, like will want you to hate yourself. And you have to have a little bit of, actors, protect themselves with like, well, I'm talented, I have to show this to the world kind of. And I've never thought that, but I also know on the other hand that I'm fearless and I'll do whatever it takes. And I believe in the talent that I have. So that being said, I know when I suck, and I have sucked up a lot of things that I've done. It's not been the best. I'm not gonna lie, but I do know, like, as I was filming that last bit, that I was connected in my heart to this character, to what had happened, to what was about, the idea of what was about to happen. But Chris didn't like it and was making it very clear after my first couple of takes that he didn't like it and was side talking the director. And if you've worked, it's like you on set and stuff, it's like you know when something's going on, like everybody knows, kind of thing. And so he comes over, or first the director comes over after Chris has talked in his ear, and he was like, okay, just, I can't remember, it said something like, like, let's try it again, but something like, be more believable. It was something that bad, like that basic or that, like, and I
very
remember
helpful note.
Like, I feel pretty believable, like, like I felt like I definitely was, like, my heart was breaking in that moment, like I could feel it, because I mean, just to have that, like, no hope at all, like this cycle of abuse was going to continue, even though this girl was dead, like how terrible it would feel that, I felt it, I was there. And so, we did it again. And then he came up to my face and decided to direct me. Now, this is such a faux pas, right? Like, to have now he's the lead, I guess, of the show, but like, for in front of the director, it's just kind of like, it doesn't happen. Like, it hasn't really happened that often for me, kind of thing. So he comes up, and I just remember being horrified, and nothing makes an actor get worse than going in their head, right? Like, if he wanted a better performance out of me, this was not the way to get it. Because now it's like, everyone's, like, I just remember just being like really horrified and scared that I was messing this up, and like, after, especially like, having these wonderful days where like Marishka goes out and tells my mom that I'm pure gold. I'm not saying that I was like, I need an Oscar, give me a bigger trailer. But I felt pretty good about what I was doing, that, this was a shock. It was such a shock to have this. And I do have to tell you, I forgot this one part. Shoot, I know we're running long, but my dad had, my parents were divorced, and my dad obviously wasn't going to come out. But he had never really asked for anything, but like, he liked the show, it's like, my dad lives in Ohio, like, this is pretty big, so I had asked Marishka to sign my script. What a nerd. I usually don't do that. It's really kind of, you don't do that kind of stuff as a guest star. And I had asked Chris, and I had said, something like, or my mom had hip surgery a few years before, both of her hips done at the same time, which is excruciating. And she'd been in a hospital bed literally for 4 months and not been able to get out of a hospital bed. And she had watched Oz, and that had kind of helped her, recover. And of course, Chris Maloney was on Oz. So I think I was like babbling to him, like, my mom, she's been watching you, not just on the show, but, I tried to tell the story, because as an actor, that should touch you, that
right.
people get through hard times in their lives by seeing your work. And so he was like, oh, so I told him about Oz. He goes, oh, so your mother's seen my body of work? So for those of you who don't know, he did full nudity in Oz.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I, this coquettish little 21-year-old at the time, I turned like 5 shades of red. Because I was like, oh my God, is he thinking that I'm talking about my mom liking his penis? Like, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm horrified because I don't know him. I haven't worked with him. I don't have this relationship like I do,
Right.
So he signed it, and I was like, I don't know. So maybe it was like getting off to that bad start. So then now he's like up in my face, like, just, you just need to connect, just connect to it, I don't remember. I just remember going, he hates me. He thinks that my mom likes his penis. I'm messing this whole thing up. They're going to cut this and I'm not going to get the scene before dun dun. Like, it's over for me. They're going to regret giving me a direct offer. This whole, because those are the things that you think about, and then of course I watched it and I think it's lovely. I think I did a great job. Whatever. Fine. So
I do too. That sounds very chaotic.
Yeah, it was really chaotic because he made it very clear that he did not think I was doing well. And that was really hurtful. So it happens. So the moral of the story is, he's not on the show anymore, so who cares? but she's lovely and amazing. And Marishka deserves all the success in the world. And I love her. And she really made it awesome. And it's been, it's been a great thing, a great feather in my career cap. And those are my juicy stories from it. And I'm also a full 7 years younger than I was supposed to be. So still trying to do the math. I think I ran into Kelly years later and was like, do I tell her? Like, do I admit that I lied about my
The cat's out of the bag now. So there's no going back.
Well, IMDb. They could have at any time gone on their flip phones and hit IMDb. So those are my stories.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for joining us and for telling us your stories from Mean. We loved having you here. If people want to keep up with you on the social medias, where are you on Twitters and Instagrams?
Yes, please do. So my very Britishy name, Lindsay Hollister, is too long for Twitter. One too long, one letter too long. So it's Linds, Linds, and then Hollister, Linds Hollister. And then on Instagram, it's super easy, Lindsay Hollister. So Lindsay with an A. So Lindsay, and then Hollister, like the store, but no, I don't have any connection to it, or I wouldn't have that day job that I've rushed a few times. But yeah, so Instagram, and then of course I do have some blue check mark by my name on Facebook if you want to find me there. But I'm much more active on Instagram and Twitter. So where obviously we have met, and
yes.
I wasn't on for a while, and like I said, I tried to do my best work on Twitter, but I don't know if anyone's listening.
Twitter is a challenge.
Well, you were. I appreciate that. You both were.
Thank you so much for being here. Taylor, everyone can find you where?
Yes, you guys can find me on Twitter at alphabet_Ann and on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_. Not related to Bill Gates, just like Lindsay's not related to Hollister, unfortunately.
We would be on a yacht right now doing.
We would interview on a yacht.
I am Yael Tygiel. I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. And we will be back on Sunday at our regular time for a new episode of SVU this week. But make sure you are following us here on FANVERSATION. And if you're listening to our audio only version, thank you for doing that. That's very kind, and I want you to feel appreciated. All right. Bye, everybody.